proceed with that.
Okay. Alan Scott,
That.
Elise Lipnick,
Here.
Annie Batey,
Here.
Alan Scott, Bonnie McGregor,
Here.
David Haber, Elise Lipnick,
Here.
Annie Batey,
Here.
Alan Scott. I'm hearing my voice about 5
Bonnie
seconds
McGregor.
later.
Here.
John
David
Hughes,
Haber.
Here.
Elise Lipnick.
Julie Lutke,
Annie Batey. Here.
Linda Schellenberg. I'm hearing my voice about 5 seconds later. Margaret Madugian,
John Hughes.
Here.
Elise
John
Lipnick.
Rubel,
Annie Batey.
Scott Harper,
Here.
Hearing my voice about
and
5
Stephen
seconds.
Austin.
Margaret Madugian. John Hughes.
That's everybody.
John Rubel.
I'm so sorry you're feeling bad.
Here.
Hearing my voice about 5 seconds.
Austin.
Margaret Madugian.
That's
Okay,
everybody.
we're getting a feedback. Those of you who haven't muted your sound system, please do that, and we'll probably lose that echo there. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for the attendance, Suzanne. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda as was sent by email? Can I have a motion, please, to accept the published agenda? Thank you, Annie. And a second,
Second.
Julie? All in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? And abstentions, none, unanimously accepted as published. Also sent was the minutes from the October 4th, 2022 meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes as published? Seeing no objectors, I'd like a motion, please, to accept the minutes for the October 4th meeting as published. Annie moves.
I make that motion.
Thank you. And the second by
I
somebody,
second.
please. Bonnie, thank you. Okay, all in favor of accepting the minutes as published, please raise your hand. And opposed or abstaining, unanimously approved. All right. Public comment, I don't see any. None. Center 50 plus related people here. Okay, no public comment. Moving on to the action and discussion, DEI discussion. And Marilyn, would you pick that one up? Oh, you're there, Marilyn. Ah, okay. Maryland DEI discussion. Reminding everyone what DEI stands for.
She said she can't hear anything. She's switching computers, so a technical difficulty.
You have a mute on there on this one, Marilyn.
I'll go see if I can help.
We've got a timeout here while Marilyn gets her technical difficulty resolved.
Can I just say how much fun I had being a server at the clam chowder feed?
Absolutely, you could say that.
I even got my first tip. I've never been a server like that before, and I got a Pirates coin from Lincoln City that brings me good luck. So I was very proud of myself, and Frankie did a great job of supervising me.
That was a very nice event, yeah. As was the veterans event. Oh,
Can you hear me now?
yes,
Okay, yay.
okay.
Sorry about that. We've got 3 computers and one's doing the recording and I'm sitting at a desk with 3 screens. So apparently my technology got pushed to the full maximum testing today.
Okay,
All
Okay,
right,
where-
so where, are you ready for me?
yes, we're up to the DEI discussion. And if you remind everybody what the letters stand for, DEI, we can start with that, please.
DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Thank you.
When you hear those letters DEI, what comes to mind?
Welcoming.
Recording in progress.
It comes to-
You think of inviting. What other things?
Compliance.
Can you explain what that a little bit more on that?
Say again.
Can you explain that a little bit more? What do you mean compliance?
We're a city organization and the city has got a policy with regard to including as many diverse, what would you call it? Classifications as exist, I guess, with, although actually that's not true. There are some that are excluded, aren't there, Marilyn?
Like, what do you mean?
Oh. Okay, what do I mean? I think it would be, what does the city mean? Oh, what would be a criteria for excluding people from what we do? For example, Center 50 Plus and admission there too. We have policies at the center that exclude some people based on prior behavior and other things. Is that not correct?
Well, we have a code of conduct.
And if that's violated, it creates a class of people that are excluded from entrance. And there are probably other examples where disruptive and dangerous.
I think though that
Who's
everyone is treated the same way. So in that way, it's inclusive because it's not different rules for different people. It's the same rules for everyone and in terms of conduct.
Exactly.
I would also say caring and respect.
For me, DEI means creating a fair and level play for all demographic groups.
I believe it should be non-discriminatory. Whatever it includes, we should all be equal, and it should not include. And someone that for Ron, we're open to everyone, but if you go against the code of conduct, it's not fair to those who have abided by the rules. So I think I'm not quite sure what Ron's getting at, but I do think it should be inclusional of everyone. So.
Do we discriminate against the under 50?
No.
Well, do we?
No. I don't know. We have events, and we're certainly not excluding under 50, welcoming them. Like at the feed, well, the chowder feed when we had, or the veterans, when we had the younger generation helping with the serving, that was definitely inclusive of all ages, and it was so welcome. So that's
why are we center 50 plus?
Why is there Boys and Girls Club?
Good question.
So if our mission is to provide a specific program delivery of services that is to meet a specific need of a specific age group, is that not being inclusive? Does inclusive and DEI mean that because we have our doors open, every person of every age should be able to access the same services for our older adults?
That would be inclusive. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't be center 50 plus. I'm just saying we seem to be focusing on a particular age, and it's discrimination in a neutral sense. We want to target older adults.
So in terms of the others that are on the phone or on the meeting that specifically support a program such as Meals on Wheels, or what kind of conversation have you had in regards to what David has asked? Is it fair that you don't have Meals on Wheels delivery for people of all ages? Is that piece of it? Or even area agency on aging services? Julie, do you have some insight on this, and has this conversation come up?
Oh, we turn people down all the time for services because they don't fit our the parameters of the programs that we need to deliver. There are laws in place that say you can only serve people of a certain age with this program. It's a federal law. And so having parameters around a program and a focus for people you serve is not in itself exclusive. It's having a focus on, you have a certain demographic, you have a certain number of procedures and things, bylaws, laws. Here, we at Northwest, we operate under the Older Americans Act and also under Medicaid long-term care services waivers, among other things. And so we are required to do what those entities inform us to do under the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services and all sorts of entities. That said, I think that DEI really is approaching, at least from my perspective, the way that I implement or try to implement is using a diversity, equity, inclusion scope whenever you're developing a new program within your boundary. So within 50% or 50 plus, or within folks who are age and disabled, within Boys and Girls Club, whatever it is, your scope is looking through that lens of diversity, equity, inclusion. Is everybody you are intending to serve with those parameters able to access your services in the same way? With the proper assistance? Does everybody have equal access to those? Are we hiring and recruiting volunteers who serve those communities? Are we offering a number of languages? Are buildings accessible? Are our languages accessible? Are we culturally competent? Are we thinking about who we serve and how we serve, and looking through that lens? I was holding back because I knew I'd go. So
No, but that's exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so that's I believe it's the intention. So you set the intention of delivering equitable services based on diversity, based on equal access with equity and inclusivity. So we don't turn anyone away, and it expands, beyond. It goes through a whole span of cultural and everything from gender identity, LGBTQI+, able-bodied, or however you are abled. Every single facet of what we do, you look through that lens and see, are we making these programs accessible? Are any of our doors closed, and why? And how can we open them?
Okay, so it appears we're looking at a distinction between a focus and an exclusion. If you take a look at your agenda in the lower right-hand corner, lower left-hand corner, you'll see the statement of the city's non-discrimination policy. Now, there's all sorts of groups included there. Now, does that bring up the question, if something is not included in those groups there, are they excluded? Why do the specific groups have to be included or stated, as opposed to stating everyone? Marilyn, can you shed some light on the city's position there?
Well, I mean, Chapter 97 and our American with Disabilities Act and our non-discrimination is much broader than City of Salem. It's defined by our guidelines in our state. Of course, Chapter 97 took Salem to a higher level, but I would have to say I'm not the expert, but I know that we didn't define this. City of Salem didn't define this. I saw Dr. Manoogian nod her head. Can you help me?
Yeah, I was just going to say too that I've been holding back too, Julie. You're not the only one. Yeah, I think because I work in a university currently, and we have a lot of DEI expectations on this campus. So those at the very least are trying to spell out different contexts and identities for individuals, like those that are below the poverty line, those are a different race and ethnicity, those that have different identities in terms of gender and gender identity, sexual orientation, those that, just gender in general. I would even go further if we're talking Center 50 plus, those that are grandparents raising grandchildren. There's lots of different ways that we can think about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one of the things that I've been teaching, I teach a course on this. I developed one for my gerontology major on inclusivity and making people visible and addressing multiple identities. So if we're looking at, for instance, on my campus, we are a Hispanic serving institution, and we have a really high number of students. And I've been doing research with Latinas who are first generation in college and conflict with parents. That's been an interest of mine. And their experiences are unique because of those intersections of immigration, gender, ethnic identity, first generation. So part of DEI is also addressing how we, Center 50 Plus, not only provide programs, but some of the things that Julie was talking about. So we go beyond, say, putting up our affirmative action or our statement, and really look at our programs and how do they address maybe the intersection of being a veteran who's in the poverty level, that's living alone, that's Black, for instance. Like, how do we address some of those kind of intersections, and how do we provide programs that are inclusive? In addition, how do we are we staffing to represent the people who we want to have coming to our center, and all those things that Julie talked about, like language accessibility and how we market things and how we bring people into our doors. I think that how we educate ourselves and the people who come about how to talk to each other. I think that at the very basic would be a really important thing for us to talk about, because some of the Mama Senior Community Center, and I'm sorry I'm going on and on, but a number of years ago, I helped them get some grant money. And one of the biggest issues there was the lack of inclusivity of a large population here in Monmouth Independence. And I've been rounding up students to go over there. Now since I have a lot of Spanish first speaking students, for instance, as an example, they started, rather than just bingo, they now offer La Loteria. It's like, and the whole grandparent group comes, like the 3-generation families come to those events. So that's just one little tiny example. It goes much further than that. Not just doing a Band-Aid, but it's really doing a very important examination of program offerings, our clientele, how we want to serve them, how do we reach those individuals that are invisible, who don't feel welcome, how do we provide programs that get people together and talking across groups, etc.
Well, and how do you have those conversations without getting to the root of even the individual level biases? One of the exercises that they asked us to kind of think about is, in our own examination of the world we live in, what we actually mark as traits that we believe make people more trustworthy, and our affinity groups. And one of the conversations is that we don't even identify in ourselves the biases we have of why we choose certain people that we hang out with, because we are all in this mindset that we don't have biases, but we even have biases that, well, we do. There's a certain people that we're drawn to, and why. So then the thing that I wanted to ask everyone to kind of do is to list 6 to 10 people that you trust the most in your life. But try to avoid family members. And then next to each of those folks, write a trait that make them trustworthy or that you have an affinity towards. And then another little check mark next to it, next to the ones that you have the most common. You think you have most common with them.
Can you define trust? How wide a scope is that? Trust them for what?
Trustworthy.
Trust or what?
Trustworthy. Why would you, and that's not defined by me, but defined by you individually.
So someone who would have your back? Is that what you're
I
talking?
would,
Yeah.
or that you would be drawn to be with.
Yeah.
Naturally drawn to them. This is not a major homework assignment, but I think it's good for us to just look at the people that are in our arena and see if there is a pattern in our own personal life of who we're drawn to and who we spend our time with. And then identify why. And that's what I'd like us to talk about next time, is that piece, the why, and then we'll go to the next level on that. So what I'm asking again is 6 to 10 people that you trust the most in your life, but avoid family. Next to them, write down traits that make them trustworthy or that you have an affinity towards. And then who you have most common with. And then next time we will have in small groups, we'll talk about the common traits and how you might embody them. So are we picking people in our world that look just like us, act just like us, think just like us? That's what we're going to talk about. And please and thank you. When you have thoughts, please jump in and never feel that you have to apologize for adding to or talking too long, because everyone's input today was actually was great. And I want you to continue to do that.
I think I already shared this with you, Marilyn, but it might have been in an email. When we had your kickoff, and I think it was September, and I was honored to share a table with participants who one person can only come when her daughter is able to translate for her. And that to me was a perfect example of the opportunities that Center 50 Plus has. So even though her mother would otherwise be independent and maybe have a ride or could get herself on the bus to the center, once she gets there, she has no way to communicate with people or engage or share the experience with anyone. And so what opportunity is there to connect? And so I just found that really, I don't know, it was just it was right there at the table, just sharing, a cup of coffee with someone and what that was about. And at the same table, I had somebody who had waited. They couldn't wait until they turned 50 and they could finally come.
That's cool.
Yeah. So their spouse had turned 50 some time ago, and they were finally old enough to come, and they were so excited. So, and that person happened to be somebody who was disabled and a person of color. And so what do we have to offer that person? What shared experience can we give?
Well, and then, not to get into the weeds or even bigger, but
Yeah.
a perfect example is, we have an Alzheimer respite program. And, we've had requests occasionally from someone that's non-English speaking to be a part of our respite program. Well, Alzheimer's is a very unique process. And so to have an individual, even with the paid translator, trying to socialize with half a group of only English speaking folks that are also struggling with dementia, the translation and the social engagement of that is very challenging in trying to have multiple languages together in a respite program. So is the solution going to be that I just keep hiring translators? No, but it's actually that we have to have an entire program in Spanish, because people with Alzheimer's sitting there trying to have a communication with somebody that is being translated for is lost. They're actually only thinking they're having an interaction with the translator. And still that individual with this coming to be socially engaged is still not a part of the conversation. They're still sitting there all alone, no matter how we translate. And so those are bigger problems as we add these layers in addition to language barriers and cultural differences and all these things, and cognitive decline. And trying to work through how to address these different populations and do a good job is so much more conversation, but one that we want to tackle because we know there's a need for respite care. So it's like, you know, we want to make sure, because we have had people, family members just say, well, we'll get us a translator. And that did not fulfill the need. And so we need to continue to add our list of dilemmas and work through piece by piece till we come up with the solution.
So then the fun common language is, what can you do without words, right? What is your wordless, languageless solution to programming for that?
In a social model.
Right.
Music.
Well, it can even get more interesting if the person spoke English later in life, but their native language is something else, because depending on where their mind is at with the dementia, they may revert back to the language they started with. Or we had a client at one point who spoke 3 different languages, and on any given shift, you didn't know which one she would be speaking. So, and you know, luckily her daughter was there a lot and did speak all 3 just like her mother, although not as fluently as her mother. But it was a challenge at times for the caregivers to deal with that person, because I would send a English and Spanish speaking person, but this shift, the lady speaking French. So yeah, there are a lot of challenges.
All right, well, let's move on. I'm gonna have Kanoy hop on now and give her report up in the fitness center. Kanoy, are you available?
Yeah, I was trying to find where my notes went. There we go. Okay. Well, for the month of November, all of our classes seem to be growing. We are seeing around 12 students per class for our Silver Sneakers and Silver Sneakers Yoga. Those ones have been the busiest ones by far. So that's exciting. We were usually seeing in those classes around 15 to 18. So I feel pretty encouraged by that. At this point, we're going to keep our classes in that bigger auditorium. Folks are really liking having the extra space. And especially this time of year when everyone's not feeling well and sick, it's nice to know you have a little bit of room in between you. For our contractors, our new massage therapist is actually starting tomorrow. We're excited to have her here just on Wednesdays for the month of December. The process took a little bit longer to get the background check and everything finished. So she had to kind of shorten her schedule with us for December. But in January, she will be opening up her schedule to 3 days a week for us. And she'll do 3 massages a day, 3 days a week. Her massages are $70 each. Which I was mentioning to Marilyn and Suzanne earlier today that it's $10 more than the last person that we had, but that was several years ago now since we've had Kathleen, our previous massage therapist. So I feel like enough time has gone by that people might not even know that we had someone before and what they charged. And I'm hoping that everyone sees that as a pretty good deal. Because as we look around, we were talking today just amongst us, and you're seeing anywhere from $85 to $90 an hour being the norm. So I'm hoping we can build up our massage business again to what it was, because it was very successful before. You'll remember last month we had our health screening. It was a free community health screening with the Czech Center. So they brought over all their equipment, and this was kind of nice because all we did, we just had to promote it in-house on Facebook, all of our different avenues, and they took care of Salem Health Czech Center. They took care of calling and doing reminder calls for people, scheduling people. Then they came here and they set all their stuff up and took care of themselves. It was really pretty nice. And we had 30 people attend it. It was only 2 hours long. So they got quite a few people in and out, which is kind of exciting. When I spoke with them, they were encouraged by how many people came, and they wanted to offer another one in the spring. So we'll work on getting that done. Another thing that will be coming up for us is our Promoting Healthy Aging Discussion Roundtable. We have a class starting January 24th and running through the 28th of February. I have a couple people signed up right now, so that's exciting. We'll have this in the next couple months of our Boomer 50 plus articles as well. So hopefully we'll have some more folks sign up. But yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Any questions of Kanoi?
I just want to say $70 for an hour massage is good. So
Good.
yeah, it's a good deal. Yeah, I'd be.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, do you know if she does the deep tissue?
She does.
massage? Oh, okay. I'm
Mhm.
signing up. I need it. Okay. Thank you.
Well, we do have a lot of things coming up. Last weekend, we had our ladies holiday tea party. We sold out at 120 people. And although I think we end up with 12 people calling out sick. So there's a lot of bugs going around in our community, but it was a successful event, and we made over $2,500 to support our outreach services. So it was a great event. Other things coming up though, on 12/14, which is next Wednesday, we are bringing back our holiday neighborhood walk and parade. We'll meet here at the center at 4, decorate our cars, and get ourselves all lighted, put the lights on our cars and decorate ourselves, and then we will walk through Highland neighborhood. At the halfway point, we will pop up with cookies and cocoa and do an outreach to that neighborhood, and we hope to have families come out, and then we'll make our way back to the center. So it's a couple of hours of walking, singing, dancing, caroling, spreading cheer, and kind of being a part of our neighborhood. Then on 12/22, we actually have 2 major things that day. We have our respite art show, Art from the Heart. We will be displaying art from our respite program, and then as well as opening the whole center for our holiday open house. And that includes, bingo, it includes tours and cookies and all sorts of different things, but that is on the 22nd. It pretty much runs all day, 1 to 6 p.m. And so if you're out and about and you want to swing by and have a cookie or see the artwork or watch one of the movies, there's just a lot of things going on that day. We hope you will do that. And so throughout the month, we have things planned. We just have special music. Last Friday, we had what was the name of the group, Kanoi?
What is it called? Let me look. I can't remember.
We had a quartet that was in our lobby just for fun in the afternoon, and we had folks just sit around the fireplace and enjoy the music. And so you're going to see all sorts of things. So check us out on our Facebook page, because we'll keep adding those. This is the time where people are spontaneous and they'll say, hey, can we come tomorrow and sing? Yes, of course you can. So be sure to check us out often.
It was Synergy Quartet.
Synergy, and they actually have a concert this upcoming Saturday at First Christian Church at 2:00, a free concert, and it would be well worth the day for you to go do that. I wanted to report on our cohort. We have a learning cohort, both a freshman class and a sophomore class, and we had 2 very successful tours in November. And one was just a super fun day at Mount Angel that included the library and a tour of the theater, and a musical concert by Don Deschler. And that was just a fun event, a great opportunity to explore. But then we also had the sophomore cohort. I love that we're all about learning about our community. And this time we met with the Urban Development Department, and they actually toured all of Salem and showed the great things that are happening. The developments where they've turned neighborhoods around, where they have brought in business, where they're just really working on these different projects. You might recall that Center 50 Plus was actually an urban renewal project through the Northgate Urban Renewal. And so we cleaned up the neighborhood and built this center and a variety of developments such as the housing next to us and then the retail on the corner. Those are examples of some of the projects going on. Well, it was fun. They met us downtown. They toured all over. We just, it was just very interesting. And what I found is that people really don't understand how local government operates. They do not understand special districts. They don't often do not understand urban renewal projects. It's a dynamic that not everyone understands. And I think that the more we understand, the more involved we can become in forming the community we want. And so I love that this sophomore cohort is so eager to understand their local government. Now, next month, they'll be touring nonprofits and understanding how nonprofits work with the faith community and our local government to make a difference. And I think what's kind of cool about these different learning groups is that they're understanding that one entity really on its own cannot fix all of the problems that we have. That it takes that faith community, local nonprofits, local government, volunteerism. It takes these layered approaches to addressing these much bigger problems. And so it was a great time, and I really encourage you, and I'll send the report out at the end of the meeting, really encourage you to join a cohort in the future. As they make their way through these different topics over the course of 4 years. Don't be overwhelmed. 4 years goes really fast. Look how fast it's gone. It's really not a major commitment. It's one meeting a month. And then you're invited to attend and participate in a variety of other courses as you find interesting. Classes are beginning to really pick up here at the center. We're starting to see attendance going back up. We were sitting in that about 3 to 350 a day on our busier days in September. We have had several days where we were well over 500 people a day. So we're continually moving in the right direction. I will tell you, masks are back out. You're seeing a lot of people masked up here at the center. We're seeing people being a little more selective on the size of group they want to participate in. People are proceeding cautiously, but they are looking at us as a safe option. How can they re-engage with people safely? They're looking at us. And I think that that is a really good sign. That healing is happening, but just to let you know, we're still cautious and people are not, our doors aren't being thrown wide open and 1,000 people back in the building. People are still being very thoughtful and asking. One example is the tea party. People wanted to know how many people will be at this tea party. Well, you know, we can fit 350 people in the auditorium. We deliberately kept it at 120 people because I could do 6 people at a table, not the maximum, which is 9. You know, we've spread people out. We continue to make those kind of things. And people are asking and they're thanking us for continually considering the size of our groups. respite program, I mentioned that we have that art show coming up this month. But I did want to just kind of give you an update on how our respite program is going. We have expanded to our 4 days a week. Most days we are full at that 12 to 15 people. And so we're now having to do some exploring on what does that mean? If we're already at 4 full days and we know the need is still there, what kind of things can we do to respond to the need? And we're going to have to start looking at possibly a 1 or 2 Saturday a month respite program. We're going to have to explore a few of those things because we know the need is much greater than that. And we have people that want to come 2 or 3 times a week to respite, but so that we can give a break to as many caregivers as possible, we're having to limit how many times a week they can come. And so more to come on the respite program, but definitely the growth potential is still there, and we are going to have to come up with some solutions. I'm pretty excited. We have been working through our age-friendly initiative, and we kind of take for granted all the great things. I mean, we kind of just assume that all these things just happen miraculously of accomplishing our age-friendly work. We were able to do our mobile senior center and our WOW vans. We were able to open our villages and are starting to expand to 4 additional neighborhoods. But every little step we take is like 10 steps. I think there are 10 baby steps to get one thing done. And so we have been talking about a huge need in our age-friendly work, and that has been the need for rides. Seniors needing rides for errands and to doctor's appointments. And although we have, a paratransit program, we have a local transportation, there's still this constant request for, hey, is there anybody that can just run me to my doctor's appointment? Hey, is there anybody that's I want them to be my friend, and can they take me grocery shopping? And to be honest with you, the last couple of years, I wasn't sure what direction we were going to be able to go with that, because there was this underlying fear of liability. And was the city willing to allow us to take on a volunteer-driven driver program? And it's been kind of going around and around, and well, the tide has changed. The need is so great, and this keeps coming up in every community partner group, that this is still not being met. And the great news is the city has agreed to allow us to proceed with launching and piloting a volunteer travel program. Now, this is requiring us to come up with a training component, a proof of insurance component. So everyone has to have a good driving record, a clean background check, and their own auto insurance. And we have to come up with a training tool that would be our best practices and a release form. And the people that are requesting the ride, they too have to submit to a background check. So our volunteers are being protected. Excellent. And our patrons are being protected. But we have been given permission to proceed with this, and we will be prepared to start piloting this in February. And we're very excited. And more to come on this as we work through the legal department and the risk management. But legal and risk met with us as a staff team, and they said, you know what? Let's go for it. We can do it. And there are enough examples around the country that we can model after, and we're going to be able to do that. Any questions on that? Because this is really exciting news. We're actually approaching 3 years of conversation. So to finally get a yes after all this time we have been pretty excited about that.
Marilyn, how many people are interested or want to be the giving the rides? Do we have a lot of input?
We haven't recruited for it very much because we didn't have anywhere to place them.
Oh, okay.
So now that would be definitely something that we're going to have to really recruit for, because people, if it's not completely easy, sometimes people will get discouraged. But at other times, but I will tell you, we get 3 to 5 phone calls a week needing a ride.
Yeah.
And that's without us having any service to offer. So we're excited to be able to do that. So more to come on that, more recruitment and that kind of thing, but it's definitely moving us in the right direction. And I believe will be the launch to even more people joining the villages, because that was one of the main reasons people, have joined villages around the country. The transportation piece of it was a really big one. Same with the buddy system to going to medical appointments, extra ears going into an appointment with somebody. That was something that was such a big piece of the Villages network, and we weren't able to fill it. So we're hoping that will even encourage more people to join Villages.
It is also one of the number one reasons that people are socially isolated through research. So the lack of transportation is huge. That's great.
And if we can pair that, exactly. It's, if we could pair that with education on other modes of transportation so that it's a part of a menu of options. So it's not just one friend that can give them a ride, but, I can take the bus, I can use paratransit, I can call my friend, I can walk, I can, like a whole package of options, I think will be the solution that we want to be a part of.
Love it.
I know that Dr. Manoogian and Julie needed to leave. I wanted to move. We have a cool series coming up. We have a happy hour lecture program every Wednesday night from 6 to 7:15. It is called How to Retire and Live the Life You Want. Everything from financial planning to legal planning to learning to say no correctly, travel. One of the topics is caregiving isn't for sissies. It's about surviving caregiver roles and responsibilities and how to prepare to protect yourself, but also to be a good caregiver. It's also about falls happen. The likelihood of you experiencing either a knee replacement, hip replacement, or any joint replacement or a cardiac rehabilitation are very high as we age. And so, but there are things we can do so that it has less impact on the quality of our life. So there's a talk on falls happen. And then estate planning, just to give you an example, but it runs the entire month of January and February. It's a happy hour lecture, glass of wine and a couple of niblets of cheese, and people can pick any topic they want. They don't have to make a commitment to come to all of them. They can just come to one or they can come to all. It's totally up to you. We used to have an all-day Saturday event and we would hit all these topics. We're going to try this format instead. Smaller groups, concentrated topics. People are, less willing to give up a whole Saturday anymore. Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah.
People are just so busy. But we definitely, and you don't have to sit through a whole conference when you only really want one class. And so this will be something that we're excited to do. So I think the program guides are out. We are excited about the new year with lots of new classes and activities. And we're just going to keep building up. We have a pretty full year. We have a brand new mayor. We have almost a very, well, pretty much an all-new council, with the exception of a few. We have a new city manager. And we have a retiree. Our Public Works Department director is retiring, Peter Fernandez. So we have a lot of stuff going on with the city as a whole. And I know that Center 50 Plus is recognized as a key program delivery, critical service to the city of Salem. And so we want to continue to just fulfill that role while everybody else is making all sorts of adjustments. We're just going to keep focused on the work we're doing and support our seniors to the best of our ability. Any questions for me or for Kanoi today? All right. Well, thank you.
Is that the totality of your director's report?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. We'll hop back to the agenda, and at this point, I guess we'll take up the election of officers.
And you'll kiss your wife goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. Okay. All right. Yeah, she's going to Center 50 Plus to the Alzheimer's.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Marilyn, in my case, I think I took over somebody else's term, so I'm not sure when my term is up and how is the process to re-up?
So you receive a letter from the mayor when it's your time to re-up.
Okay.
Yep, they send you a letter and they ask you. I don't think Suzanne has a roster that we have. Is there anybody that is expiring right now?
I looked about a month or so ago to make sure, and nobody's expiring this December. So
okay,
it's later. And honestly, isn't that great news? I love the way we say that. Nobody's expiring.
Oh, I didn't put that right. Nobody's term is expiring.
Well,
Sorry.
that's a good way to be. Okay. We have two officer positions, president and vice president. Vice president fills in if the president doesn't show up. Do we have any nominees for these offices? Well, I will volunteer to continue as president, and I would submit my name as a nominee. Do we have a nominee for vice president?
John Hughes, would you be willing to be vice president?
Sure, I could do that.
Okay. All right. Are there any other nominees or nominations? Okay. So the slate is me for president and Josh Hughes for vice president. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Abstentions? I think it's unanimous. Okay, so those are continuing.
Suzanne, do we have a quorum still?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the bylaws say 8.
The bylaws say 8, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh.
So we'll need to table that and we go for another vote. So Ron and
We don't
John
need
can't.
Six. Six is a quorum. There's 12, and that's.
So the
Since Margaret-
bylaws,
Since Margaret was part of the meeting, is it legal to check in with her since she had to leave to give a final and see if she has a vote on this?
I think we'll just go ahead and send in the minutes that we will need a quorum to vote at the next
Okay.
meeting. I think we're okay.
Great.
And Suzanne, can you paste in or copy and paste in into the email to everyone showing that the quorum is 8?
You mean each month or you mean?
No, yes, please.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Scott, do you have any updates?
Sorry, I'm not used to Zoom. I was going to the wrong corner for the mute button there. We are looking at possibly January to do a full open again. With the way things are kind of happening and we're seeing a more influx of people getting sick and stuff, we're wondering now, do we hold off a little bit? At the same time, we're looking at what we're going to, how the new structure is going to be. We got some changes and stuff we're kind of working on right now. So hopefully by the next meeting, I should have a lot more information. We were kind of hoping to make some decisions by this week, but it's with everything that's been going on. I don't think it's going to happen right now, but we're really pushing to try to get the dining room back to full open. We just want to make sure we're very thoughtful and make sure that everybody's as safe as possible.
Good.
Annie, you're muted.
Is our quorum 2/3? Because I'm counting 12 members.
Bylaws say 8, but
Oh, they state 8. Okay.
I think they're updated bylaws, which might be why Ron had 6 in mind from before. I mean, these were, I don't remember what year we updated, but I'll attach the bylaws to an email to everyone right now. Okay. But it'll take a little bit.
Any other business? In that case, the next meeting of the commission will be January 3rd, the first Tuesday of the new year.
Do we have a Friends fundraising update? It was listed on the
Well, we
agenda.
don't have Linda here to do that. So we'll have to put that off till next meeting.
I included the T update with the $2,500 fundraising that happened in my report. That's all that has occurred.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Thanks, Marilyn.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, and a second.
I
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, so we'll see as many of you as we can on December 14th. What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday. And time?
4 o'clock if you want to decorate your car.
4 p.m.
5 o'clock we'll pull out of the parking lot.
Okay.
So I have one more question.
Mhm.
At
Okay.
the end of the last meeting, we talked about our January meeting and the date. So are we meeting? I gotta look at my calendar to even know what date that would be.
Are we meeting January
On the 3rd, I guess.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Okay.
after New Year's. Okay, so our next meeting will be January 3rd.
Okay.
All in favor of terminating this meeting? Raise your hands, please. Okay, we'll see you Wednesday, the 14th, and next year. Have happy holidays all. Okay.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.